Men need a store that has the right thing for their thing, like a Kenneth Cole suit made with Choflex fabric to keep them cool at their cousin-in-law's third wedding in the middle of July. Whatever the thing, Men's Warehouse has the clothes for it. Love the way you look, Men's Warehouse.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you're heading to the gym, the office, or just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has your back. So if you haven't tried it yet, head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. And with me right now, I've got a very special guest. He is a longtime professional wrestling referee, having worked for the WWE and WCW. I'm pleased to welcome the one and only Billy Silverman. Welcome, Billy, to Wrestling with Heart.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, it's my pleasure. So you're from a town in Maine called Auburn. Talk to me about your childhood and upbringing.
Grew up in Auburn, and then kind of through my dad and a friend of his, actually a friend of my dad's was a promoter for Vince's father. He did like shows up in my area. He also promoted, his name was Sam Michaels, and he also promoted the Ali Liston fight in Lewiston, Maine, where it was like a one punch kind of thing. If you're not familiar with it, you ought to Google it. It's kind of an interesting story. So he was a promoter. He promoted all kinds of events, concerts, roller derby, you name it, he did it. So I was kind of always around all that stuff. And then I met some people through Sam who they were going to be business partners and they were going to run some shows in Maine. And then somehow I just kind of fell into it. Tommy Fornini, who was the referee for ICW, who was also a New York State licensed referee, and he was licensed in New Jersey. He kind of taught me, a little bit about it, but for the most part, I really picked it up a lot because I'd always watched it. So I kind of had an idea. I didn't know like some of the intricates of it, but I basically knew a little bit about it. And then they promoted a show in Augusta, Maine, and Tommy asked me if I wanted to referee. And I was like, yeah, sure. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So I ran out real quick, got some black pants and a shirt and a bow tie to referee that night. And then from there, just kept going on and on and on. I met the Wild Samoans and I worked with them and they taught me a lot. I worked for a gentleman named Tommy Giannetti. Pretty much I worked from Maine to Maryland. I mean, I pretty much owned a lot of the independent shows. So because they'd see me on WWF or WWF TV, and it was like, you know what I mean? Kind of their link to somebody who was there, even though I wasn't a contract player. So helped me get a lot of bookings. For several years, I would say at least 10 years, I just did independence, but I literally worked almost every single weekend.
Wow. Now, were you a fan before this? Did you watch on television?
I did. When I was a kid, I was really into it. Like a lot of kids are just, you love wrestling. And so, like I said, my dad's friend always promoted Vince's father's show up in up in Maine and New England. And so I'd get to go downstairs and, I didn't get to go in the dressing room, but, they'd bring somebody out like Chief Jay Strongbow. I had a picture taken with Moolah, Stan Stasiak. Those are some of the people that I got to see as a kid. So I just loved it. And I got to see them close up. So that was kind of cool.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I bet you'd have butterflies just walking through the locker room because you've grown up watching these people.
Yeah, it's really weird. You're right. Some of them, like for instance, I'll give you an example of Ivan Koloff. I loved him as a kid. And then at the very, very end of his career, I got to work with him at I'm trying to think of it, the UWF, Herb Abrams promotion. And he had brought in a bunch of the old timers, and he was definitely not his best days were behind him, but it was still really cool that I got to work with him because I was a fan of his as a kid. And then I got to work with I worked with Bob Backlund back in those days. I worked with Killer Kowalski. So I've worked with a lot of the old timers as well. But I was
Wow.
very young when that happened. I was very young when that happened. So
Well, let's talk about the first time you became a referee for the first time. I'd imagine like you were nervous because it's hard, being able to call the match and try to figure out where everybody is and what everything's going to look like and all that stuff.
sure, very, very intimidating. And I wish I could think of my first match. And I don't know why I want to think it was Tom Brandy. And I don't remember who it was against, but I just remember getting in there, and then as I was walking to the ring, I was like, "Oh, I can do this," like no problem, I got this covered. And then I got in the ring, and I was just like, "Oh my God, what am I doing? I have no clue what I'm doing." And it just kind of worked itself out, because some things you can figure out, and then after I kind of, said to myself, "You're the third wheel here. You got to make sure run and make sure you keep with it." So I think I did a good job because obviously after that I started working all the time. I was contacted by a lot of promoters, and my big thing was I could take really good bumps, and I'd let most people bump me around. With somebody who was like an independent talent who I didn't know, no, I wouldn't let it happen because I don't know them and I don't know their strengths or how, so but like Tony Atlas used to lift me up over his head and press slam me. Just tons of guys that I bumped for. Scotty Steiner used to pick me up, throw me, and stuff. But I was never worried because they're all very strong men. So I knew it wasn't like they were going to drop me wrong or, land me on my head or something. You just didn't have to worry about that because of just the pure strength that they possessed.
I mean, these are larger than life human beings, and you're just in awe when you see them because they're superheroes. These gargantuans, huge. And so
Exactly.
getting to work with all these guys, um, when you're starting out, as a referee,
Sure.
you're learning the business from a lot of different people.
Sure.
Talk to me about some of the pointers and pieces of advice you were given when starting out that you've applied to today after leaving the WWE and other companies.
I think it's really about, well, you got to stay out of the way. You got to try and be where, you've always got to try and be where you are. I think, being able to take bumps and in that sense, it's like you're able to get knocked down, but you can get up, so that would be one thing I took from the business. And just, because I worked with so many different people that gave me advice, um, that I think that a lot of it is just kind of do your job. You know what I mean? Know your job, do your job. And if you do that, and if you take a bump, you get back up. So that's how I'd say I kind of look at life and how I kind of took that from the wrestling business.
Yeah, I mean you can't give up. You have to keep on going. And
Absolutely.
when things are kind of, not where you want to be, or when things just kind of fly south, you just kind of have to go with the flow. So
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get up. You know what I'm saying? It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get up.
exactly. So you made your debut with the WWE in the mid 80s. Talk to me about, making the transition from the independents and working with the talent in the company during this time.
In 86, how I got to work with them was through my father's friend, Sam Michaels. Joey Morella had got hurt and they needed a referee, so they called Sam, obviously. Sam called me, and Portland, Maine from Auburn, Maine is probably driving regular would be 40 minutes. I was already in the car with my gear, before I even got off the phone with Sam, and I was there. But I wasn't ready for it. I really wasn't. I knew it, they knew it, and so I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. I was still way too green, but it was cool that I knew a lot of the guys in the locker room. So then after that, I still continued to work, and I think got better every single time that I worked because I learned new things from all kinds of different people. Arthur the Wild Simone taught me so much. Sal Corrente, who used to be a referee, taught me a lot. Tommy Fornini taught me a lot. And just different wrestlers that taught me what or helped refine what I somewhat knew and refined it so that I could really take it to another level. So I just had I'm very blessed in the business. I was blessed because I got to work with so many top talent people. Jules Strongbow gave me a lot of good advice. Oh God, there's just been so many, that I don't even think I can remember all the people that gave me great advice.
Yeah, I mean, you got to work with so many different talents over the course of your career. Talk to me about some of your favorite matches that you've gotten to be a part of.
Um, Anything with Brett, because working with Brett, getting in that ring with Brett, he gives not 100%, he gives 200%. I mean, every single night, and he's such an incredible. He was such an incredible athlete, and he could go in there with a chair, make the chair look good. So anything always say with Brett, working with Sting was great. We're always working with Flair is, that's an experience in itself. Let me think. Who are some of the other? Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, um, Davey Boy Smith. These people are incredible athletes, and they know what they're doing in there. And just to be a part of that is just sometimes I just go, I have to like shake my head and go, oh, is this really me? And is this really happening? Because you're in there with such incredible. Terry Funk's another one who was, when I did a match with him and Ric Flair, it was incredible. It was just like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, definitely when you're in the ring with those guys, it's like it's a night off because you're constantly, you know their styles very well, you know how their work is, and so you're prepared. You know what to
Exactly.
expect when
Yeah.
you get to be in the ring with them. Was there like one particular match? Was there one match in particular that you enjoyed being a part of the most?
Maybe not enjoyed, but felt great honor and just knowing that I had to go out there and be at my absolute best. There was just no room for nothing if you went out there and you had the opportunity to work with these two guys, you better be at, 100%. And because they're going to give a great match, and the only thing that can screw it up would be me or the referee. And it was the match first time with Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. If you go back and watch that match, it's a clinic. It's a real clinic. And I feel that I contributed a great deal to that.
Was that the Halloween Havoc one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was the Halloween Havoc. And if anybody goes back and watches that, they're two great athletes. Eddie Guerrero, bar none, another. In my book, I put Eddie Guerrero in the same category as I put Bret Hart. Just he again, he's another guy. He could go out there, could work with a chair, and he make the chair look like the champion. Rey Mysterio is another one of those guys. So I had never been exposed to lucha libre or luchador wrestling when I before I went to WCW, and I thought it was very different. It's very fast paced, and it's very, the mass traditions and things like that. But I got to, learn about it, and so it's a whole different wrestling culture, and it's really kind of cool. Like for instance, I got to meet Neil Mascaras, and he's like true to that. Like from what they say, he like showers with his mask on, So that's a different mindset culture of Mexican and lucha libre wrestling. They have some great workers too, Conan, um, just the numerous luchador or lucha libre wrestlers that I met. That was a really cool thing to be able to work with them.
Now, I'm sure prior to working with Eddie and Ray, you had to study tapes of lucha libre or Mexican wrestling. Walk me through kind of what your mindset was to prepare for how to call the action.
Well, prior to that, the Mexican talent had been brought into WCW, and I believe that was through Conan. And so I got to work with these guys every single night, because a lot of the stuff that they do is the same. With Eddie was different. He could definitely do that Mexican lucha style, but he was more, I want to say, I don't want to say Americanized, but didn't do as much of that kind of thing. So it was just getting used to them, and just feeling like I'm ready. I know I can do this match. And it was just really cool to be a part of it. I just feel like that was one of the greatest matches ever, and I was a part of it. So that's one thing I can say. Another interesting tidbit I'll give you is when I first went to WCW, the week two either a week or two prior to that, I had done my last Raw, and I had wrapped up with WWF or WWE at the time. And the next week, so they were doing a live show and a tape
Hmm.
show, whereas Nitro was live every week. So I was on a tape show of Raw from what I had finished up, and then was on Nitro that same night. And the same thing happened to Rick Rude. Rick
Hmm.
Rude did the last set of tapings that I did. And I was even in those matches with him where he was a manager, and then went to WCW, and he was there too. And we both just kind of looked at each other like, what are you doing here? So that was a kind of a cool thing. Rick Rude and I have one thing in common, that we both were on different shows, different major promotions at the same night.
That is
So I thought
crazy.
it is. I thought it was just what a cool thing, to happen, not
Yeah.
happen to me, but it was a cool thing.
What made you decide to leave WWE for WCW?
It wasn't a matter of, deciding to leave. I was, Steve Taylor, who I owe so much to, was the, we say events. He was a photographer. Then he was in charge of the whole, getting it set up, all that stuff. And also he handled the referees that were ring crew guys. And so through him and through some other channels, they recommended me. And this time I was ready. When I went there the second time, I was ready, and they booked me quite a bit. I wasn't a contract person, but I was getting booked pretty regularly through them. And then Steve Taylor came to me, and he just said, "We have to cut back right now, and I don't have a spot for you." And I thanked him profusely, because I had just found out, like maybe 2 or 3 days before that I was being hired by WCW. So it was a real cool thing, and we left on such good. I mean, Steve Taylor is just an awesome, awesome guy, and he really helped me a lot. he was booked me a lot, and so I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for Jim Ross too, because if Jim Ross didn't like my work, and even Vince, they don't just put anybody on their TV. And had they not liked my work, I wouldn't have been
And you
there.
got to
So
go back to WWE after
yeah,
WCW
for
was
a
bought
short
out.
time, I kind of went back for a cup of coffee and went on about my way. So yeah, so I went back for the Alliance, I think what it was called, or something to that effect.
The invasion
Um,
angle.
Invasion Angle, thank you. And yeah, and so now I live in Florida, and I do independent shows, when it's feasible for me, and it's worth my while, I'll go do an independent show. So I work maybe a year, maybe 8 times a year, and it's perfect because it's some good extra money. And keeps me kind of tied to seeing what I really like is seeing the young talent, what they're doing, the new, different guys that are training different guys that I didn't know before, and seeing how the guys and girls that they trained, how they, have progressed. But also, there's a lot of guys down here that train and I always ask, oh, who were you trained by? And a couple of them said to me, Alex Porto. And I said, well, no, there's no explanation necessary then. If you're trained by Alex, you guys are golden in my book, And so, yeah, so that's pretty much 30 years kind of condensed. I've periodically been working on a book. It's just taken me a lot longer because there's a lot of stories, and there's some things that I really want to tell. And there are not a lot of things, but there are some things that I don't want to tell because I don't think A, it would be right, and B, it's just not who I am. I believe that what somebody's truth is their truth, not mine to tell. About things I might have seen, or things like that. There's just, I don't feel like that's going to add to the book. I feel that I have enough content without those kind of things to write a book, and that's what I've been working on.
Yeah, I mean, surely have a lot of stories to tell and have been around the locker rooms of both WWE and WCW and are now doing the independent circuit. And I think that's kind of cool. The independent scene has really taken off in recent years. I feel like indie wrestling has really grown, and you see a lot of stars really making their way to the bigger companies now with WWE and AEW and all these different platforms. I think,
Promotions, yeah.
yeah, and I think the future of wrestling, I feel like, is in good hands because you got all these different alternatives now, and they're accessible.
Exactly. They are. I think one thing though, I think is WWF or WWE is really going to hurt themselves by raising ticket prices to an astronomical, excuse me, to an astronomical price where people can't go. They're going to price themselves out of the market. And so, what I think that will do, what I really feel is that's going to be good for all the other promotions, because all the other promotions have a lot of the WWE stars, anyways. And so you can see them, and you can see them under a different umbrella. There's a different booker there, there's, different producers there. So you can get a real variety. I just don't think that some of the prices I've seen for WWF tick or WWE tickets are, just how can you afford to even take your son or your daughter? I mean, it's crazy money.
Wrestling, I feel like, should be for everyone to enjoy and to be able to go and have a good time. It should be an experience for everyone. And so I think what you're going to see in the next few years, like you just said, I think that it will give way to a lot of the other companies to kind of take over and try to get more people to attend their shows.
Sure. And I think that's going to happen because when you make something so inaccessible, you're going to lose your audience, because the prices that they're charging, that's not the market. The market doesn't, you know what I mean? I don't believe the market can bear that, based on their fan base. So and who knows, maybe they're looking to, I don't know what their thought could be, but maybe they are looking to push some business to, other companies. I don't know. That wouldn't make sense to me, but nothing sometimes they do up there makes sense to me.
When you when you watch the products today, who are some guys or some girls who you go, man, I would love to be refereeing their match?
Yeah, I like what is it? MJF from
MJF.
AE. I like a lot of his stuff. In WWE, Charlotte, obviously, who wouldn't want to work with Charlotte just because
Hmm.
she's that talented? I mean, I'd like to work with Nia Jax because she's a big girl, and I'd love to see that, because I have the best seat in the house, basically, as the referee, or so to speak. I'd like to see, because on TV, her work seems kind of, it doesn't seem like it's real tight. So I'd like to see how she really is in the ring. Who are the two? Because I don't follow it super, super close. Who are the two Mexican wrestlers that just came from A&E and went to WWE?
Penta and Ray Phoenix.
Yeah, yeah, those guys. I like those guys. Those guys are very talented. I'd love to be get to work with them. Anything with Kurt Angle, he's an incredible athlete. Yeah, so there's actually quite a few. But like I said, I'm really enjoying working with the younger talent down here because I feel I have something to offer them, and maybe some advice. And if they take it, great. If they don't, at least I tried to help them along the way. And I say this to all those young kids, they'll be like, "Wow, great, thank you," etc. And I say, as long as I can give them what they need in that ring, I'll continue to work. But the minute I feel like I can't keep up, or I'm just not in shape enough anymore, or whatever, that's when I'll get totally done.
Who are some of your favorite independent talents that you've gotten to work with over the last several
Um,
years?
One of my all-time favorite, and I was a big fan of his on the internet. I never saw him because he didn't really work in the Northeast. But his name is Paul Cahagas, the Tokyo Monster. And I used to follow him online because his matches, his stuff was really, really good. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all. If you're not, Google him, you'll see some good stuff. And so I always wanted to work with him. And then they have a thing called the Cauliflower Alley Club, which I don't know if
Hmm.
you know
Hmm.
what that is and what it's about. And that's a really great organization. If you ever get a chance to go out to Vegas for one of the conventions, you get to meet a lot of the wrestlers, a lot of the old timers that are still around. And the main objective of that organization is to help wrestlers who may have fallen on hard times, may need help with hospital expenses or rent or anything. So please, please, I want to promote them as much as possible. If you do get a chance to go out to the CAC in Las Vegas, it's a really great time and it serves a very good purpose.
Yeah, I think it's great to have an organization like that because you need to be able to give voices to people that need help and are not able to
Exactly.
afford things and can help them with their taxes and their bills and everything. So I think
Because
kudos.
I say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I say to myself, by the grace of God, go I. I feel blessed that I'm not in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't imagine, to have been a big star like some of these people were. I mean, big stars, and they should have big money, all kinds of money, but through whatever, not no proper planning or anything like that, fall on hard times. And so, that's why I'm a real strong promoter of the CAC. I also am a lifetime member there. So, but we don't want to spend the rest of our time talking about the CAC. I just wanted to give them a good plug
Yeah,
for what they do for the wrestling community.
they definitely have provided so much support for those that are going through struggles, and yes, definitely a great organization to be a part of. Now, over the years, I know you've been involved with a variety of different charity groups and have helped out a lot in your community. What kinds of things have you done to give back over the years?
Well, I do, like on different shows that are I don't want to say charity because I don't like that word, but are maybe benefactor shows for, people in the community. For I've done some because my family has been touched by cancer, so I've done that. And I also donate money to the American Cancer Society, which is a great organization. They do a lot to help people with cancer. So again, shouting out to them, if you know anybody who has had cancer, been touched by cancer, it's a great organization to help out with, because cancer is a disease that knows no boundaries. It doesn't strike you it doesn't pick whether you're rich or poor, nice or not nice, things like that. It can happen to anybody. And so that's one cause that's very close to my heart. Both my mom and my dad passed away from
So
cancer.
sorry.
I have a friend right now going through pancreatic cancer, but it's actually coming along really well. So I'm very happy to hear that. But I try and do, anything that I can that I feel that helps. Like I've done things in my community, where I've done uh, food. We in where I lived in Maine, we had a group of people that during like Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, and we did one in the fall too. And we'd go around the community and get all this food donated, and we'd cook it all up. And there was this like Mason, no, it was a KFC hall, no, KFC hall, and all of us would get together and we would cook all this food for the community. And the one thing that amazes me, it was a lot of elderly people because they're on fixed incomes and can't really, always afford things. I was amazed at the amount of people, just regular, and I don't want to say regular people, but people I guess I wouldn't think I would see at such an event. I mean, we're always glad that they all feel they can come because it's for everybody. But those are some of the things that I do. And also, I've helped to in my community in Maine. I helped raise oil money or raise money to give to the Salvation Army for people in our community that struggle, keeping their homes warm. And so that was something I was very proud of as well.
Wow, it seems like you've done a lot over the years. Was there particular one event that you got to help with that was heartwarming for you?
Um, I would say it was when we do the community dinners because so many people in our country are food, what's the word I want to use? Well, they just don't have enough food to eat. There's kids in schools that don't have food for the weekend, so they make backpacks for them to take home, and it has like milk and cereal and, a sandwich or something, because I just feel we're the richest country in the world. We should not have any starving people here. And so for me, and homeless, I've never really been involved in the homeless crisis or situation, but you just got to feel for those people because there's so many, especially veterans. There should not be one veteran on the street without a home to live in.
Now, everybody deserves shelter and food and water, and so the more we can do for others, the better place we will be in. Um,
Absolutely.
well, what is it about giving back to the community that gives you the most joy?
Well, I'm a Christian and I practice my faith. I will tell you, I'm not a holy roller. I'm not going to try and recruit you, and I'm definitely not a Boy Scout. But I just feel like my heart is what gives, and my Christianity touches my heart to want to help people. I really believe that. So that's where I think that comes from, a place of my Christianity wanting to help people because it just makes you feel good. I can't think of the number of times, and I say God puts you where you're supposed to be. Probably about a month ago, I went to the post office and there was this lady and she got a big package and she got all upset because the post guy brought it out on a dolly and said, "Here you go." You know what I mean? And this woman's like maybe Alexa Bliss's size. And so I took the dolly and I rolled it out and I put it in her car and she was so thankful. And that made my heart feel good, and that said to me why I believe in God, because God put me there because he knew she needed help, and God knew that I would help her.
That's a very inspiring story, Just a simple act of kindness, I feel like, is something we could all learn from and do and practice more of.
Exactly, especially with the crazy world we live in right now.
Hmm.
That's for sure.
Well, Billy, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to Wrestling with Heart. It means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find out more about you on social media? And if there's anything you want to plug, feel free.
No, nothing really to plug right now. I am working on a merchandising deal kind of thing, but nothing. When it comes to fruitation, I'll know it's just a marketing kind of thing, and hopefully it does. I believe it will. But if anybody wants to get in touch with me, get in touch with me through my Facebook.
All right. Well, thanks
And I try
again.
and answer it. I try and answer as much as I can, but sometimes I get overwhelmed with it. I felt like right now 418 friend requests. And, I just don't have time to go through all of it. And a lot of people I don't know. I'm very appreciative, because that says something, I think, about me and how I treat people and how I act and how I portray myself on Facebook, which is not how I portray myself. It's who I am. It's not me portraying a character.
Hmm. Well, Billy, thanks again, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Awesome. I'd love that. Thank you. I know we've been trying to put it together for a little while, but thank
Yes.
you so much. I'm so glad that you kept reaching out because I'm just, like I said, I'm crazy busy doing something all the time. And so it's really I guess the squeaky wheel gets the oil or something to that effect.
Yeah, yeah.
But so thank you. I can't thank you enough for having me on. It's been my pleasure. And anytime, you need anything or whatever, give me a jingle.
Absolutely. Hey, if that book comes out in the future, would love to do a part two
Oh,
and
absolutely. I would be honored. That would be a great
for
thing.
sure. All right. Well, thanks again and take care.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
This is
Bye.
Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.